Carlos Correa to the Cubs post-lockout? Actually, for me, 300 plus million? No thanks. Locked on Cubs coming up next.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good morning and happy Monday to you. This is Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm Andrew Bellison, your host for today, and it's great to have you with us this Monday morning. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Happy Monday to you. Before we get rolling here today, and we've got an awesome show for you. At least I'm a little biased. I put it together. I think it's awesome. We just want to take this time to thank you for making Locked On Cubs your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you download your favorite podcast. So please check us out every morning, and thank you for making us your first listen. We got an awesome show for you today. I want to remind you to please always take time to interact with me and the show on social media. I've said it 1,000 times. It makes things just so much more fun. Let's respect each other's opinion. Let's respect each other's differences. But please join me on Twitter at Chicago Cubs PA, and for the show at Locked On Cubs. It's great to interact with you guys, baseball fans, Cubs fans. Please, if you like something, let me know. If you don't, please don't let me know. No, I'm just kidding. Interact with us socially as well. Tons of good stuff to get into today. We're going to take a look at some of the best and worst ballpark food around Major League Baseball. This is going to be a several-part segment here on Locked On Cubs. We're going to get that going today as we're in the middle of winter in the offseason. Nothing better than some ballpark food, right? I want to take a look at any lockout updates, news, and notes, and further explain that and delve into that, unfortunately, because it's what we have to do as we're in day 5 here of MLB Lockout 2021. But first and foremost, we're going to look at the best available free agents after the lockout ends that potentially could be signed, and dive into some Carlos Correa discussion, because his name was floated out there big time pre-lockout. Many thought maybe the Cubs would make a huge splash after bringing Stroman in the day before the lockout and go after Correa as well to shore up that middle infield and the shortstop position. So let's dive right in. We enter day 5. Lockout's got to end at some point. Cubs were active before the lockout, and the Stroman deal was huge, obviously. But before that, they brought in Yan Gomes to complement Wilson Contreras behind the plate. Clint Frazier was a very low-risk, high-potential reward move after the Yankees parted ways with him. So then making the Stroman deal official right before the lockout, Cubs definitely had their hand in the game. A lot of teams were busy. The Mets were busy. They went after Scherzer and Starling Marte and Mark Canha. Corey Seager signed the Whopper deal, 10-year, $325 million with the Rangers to play shortstop. So the biggest question, I guess, at this point of the ball game, so to speak, is what happens when the lockout is all said and done, because it will end here at some point. We're going to get into that later in the show as well. A lot of clamoring for Carlos Correa, and I get it. I mean, he is as good as it gets right now in terms of the shortstop position in baseball. It's imperative to shore up your defense up the middle, especially after bringing Stroman in. And this is a two-part thing in my mind. Number one, you've got a great catcher up the middle. You need to lock him up. And I preached on this last week, and I'm going to keep doing it until Jed and company make a move. Not that they're listening to me, but I'm here to give you my opinion. Give Contreras the extension he deserves. That's step one. Step two, with the defense they have in place now, bring in a shortstop to strengthen your game up the middle. Touched on this last week. Marcus Stroman had the 10th most ground ball outs in all of Major League Baseball in 2021. That's awesome, right? Pitching at Wrigley, ground ball pitcher. Well, bring in a good shortstop to solidify that. Let's take a look at a little A versus B numbers game. Here's two shortstops, okay? We're going to give you two shortstops. Shortstop A, 27 years old. Offensive numbers from 19, 20, and 21. Here's the slash line. 290 average, 360 OBP, 516 slug. That's good for a 131 OPS plus, 50 home runs, 185 knocked in. That's shortstop A. Shortstop B, 27 years old. Offensive numbers from 2019, 2020, and 2021. 276, 356, 487 slugging. That's the slash. 126 OPS plus, 52 home runs, 176 runs driven in. I don't know if you know who's who, but if you do, go ahead and give me your guess. I'll give you the answer. Shortstop A, Corey Seager, already off the market. Rangers, 10-year, $325 million. Shortstop B, Carlos Correa, still available. Linked to the Cubs as a potential landing spot. Here's the thing, and I'm going against the grain here because it's just, in my opinion, the easier way to go, but it just makes sense to me. The offensive numbers between Correa and Seager very, very similar. However, on the defensive end, which is extraordinarily important for any club, especially the Cubs, in my opinion, Correa markedly better with the glove. So if Seager got the $325 million for 10, Correa's contract is going to be in that ballpark, so to speak. I mean, the experts had him at still going 300 plus. I don't know, even given the minimal nature of the Cubs payroll at this point, even factoring in the Stroman deal, which was just over $70 million. So essentially, we'll call it a bargain for a pitcher of that caliber. I mean, he's sensational. They do not have a ton of money invested in their roster yet for next year. I don't love the idea of locking 300 plus million up into one guy, into a Carlos Correa, say. Here is my idea. Got another really good shortstop, we'll say in the next tier or two down if you want to rank by tiers. What about a Trevor Story from the Rockies? Came up in 16, played with the Rockies his entire career. Interesting name that's kind of flying under the radar right now and might fit the Cubs bill really well for potentially a third of the price. Back in October, in their last series of the year, the Rockies were playing the Diamondbacks. Trevor Story told the media after that series that these are the 5 things he was looking for in a potential suitor for 2022 and beyond. Here's his list. Number 1, winning. Number 2, team culture. Number 3, team environment. Number 4, geography, which I don't know what the preference would be for him there. Chicago's a great city, though, Trevor. Number 5, having a roster, as he put it, that's pretty close. That could mean a lot of different things depending on who you talk to, but pretty close. I mean, let's check them off. Winning. This could be a winning club next year. As Marcus Stroman said, a few things go right, your young guys play up to potential, and suddenly you're an 89-win team. Team culture, team environment, geography, check. Hopefully, having a roster that's close. Front office of the Cubs showing fans and potential free agents looking to come here, they are committing to win. Cubs check the boxes. The so-called experts have the Trevor Story contract potential at $120 million-ish for 6 years, 2022 and beyond. Potentially, maybe he's willing to accept a shorter, more team-friendly deal coming off a not-so-great 2021 season. Maybe he goes that route, comes back with a good bounce back in 2022, and then really cashes in on a long-term deal after that. Again, keep in mind, he's only 27 years old. 162 game average for Trevor Story since he came into the league in 2016. Here's the slash line. Average, 162 games. 272, 340 OBP, 523 slugging, 863 OPS. Averages 34 dingers, 98 knocked in from the shortstop position. Those are Ernie-like numbers. And 39 doubles a year. Here's the deal. Looked at the numbers. That's not Coors Field aided. The park adjusted power numbers are extremely consistent. Defensively, he is very, very good. He's not a Carlos Correa, don't get me wrong, but he's very, very good. Last year in all of Major League Baseball, he was ninth best of any shortstop. That's really good. I mean, that is really good. Had a 1.6 defensive WAR. Think about it. If you're talking about a contract that's a third or less than that of what you'd have to spend to go get a Carlos Correa, say, it's really something interesting to throw around. And I'm not saying you don't want a guy like Carlos Correa. You do. Guy is a stud. But Trevor Story, name that's not thrown out there a ton, floating under the radar. You never know. Lockout, unfortunately, rolls on. Some updates coming up next. Some more of the do's and don'ts, what can and cannot happen. Kind of building our conversation from last week. Still no major updates to report, but we're going to touch on that a little bit here as we roll on here on Locked on Cubs. Before we do, want to take a quick moment, if we could, and see if this sounds familiar to you. You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows, and you're watching sports highlights on your phone. You got your neighbor's best friend's login for the other good stuff. Kind of ridiculous, right? Let me tell you about a simple way to get all the entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV viewing together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, your favorite movies, and your favorite shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes, no need to buy another device ever again. It's a one-stop shop, and the best part, there is no annual contract, zero. So get rid of the clutter, get rid of the confusion, and get rid of your TV together with DirecTV. DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Get your TV together. Visit directtv.com today to learn about DirecTV Stream. Compatible devices required. Content varies by package. We roll on Locked On Cubs with more lockdown talk right after this. Back on Locked On Cubs, I'm your host, Andrew Bellison. Great to have you with us. Want to take this time once again to thank you for making Locked On Cubs your first listen every day. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being here. This has been so fun for me here on only my fourth show with the Locked On Podcast Network, hosting Locked On Cubs, interacting with Cubs fans, interacting with baseball fans again has been a treat. Please come and talk to me on social media at Chicago Cubs PA, at Locked On Sports. We're here for you. We want to have fun. We want to break down what's going on in baseball in Cub Nation, make it understandable, make it fun, give you my opinion, give you my insight. I want to hear yours too. So please engage with us on social media. And thank you for downloading the podcast, free and available wherever you find your favorite cast. So it's day 5 of MLB Lockout 2021. Unfortunately, it's just what it is at this point. It's still early. We discussed a lot last week about the lockout, the difference between a strike and a lockout, what players can and cannot do during a lockout, what the league can and cannot do during a lockout, player pay during lockouts, facilities, etc. But what can teams do during the lockout is a question that I got a lot over the last few days, and I wondered the same thing myself. Essentially, during the lockout, a Major League Baseball organization can carry on as usual, business-wise, normal offseason business, minus anything to do with the players, if that makes any sense. So there's a separation here in terms of players and organization. Baseball operations, in other words, can work on trades or things they may want to do post-lockout. They just can't execute any of them because the league is closed, more or less. They can continue working with their non-playing employees. They can scout video. They can plan strategies, et cetera, et cetera. So all of that aspect of the baseball offseason in 2022 prep for a baseball club during a lockout continues as normal. Both sides obviously working on hashing out their differences as we speak, but these are not 24-hour lock you in a room negotiations. You don't come out until you have a solution. That's not how it is. They're free to negotiate as they please, when they please. But Michael Leroy, who's a professor and a sports expert at the University of Illinois, makes a really good point in terms of what we should expect moving forward here early on in MLB lockout 2022. He said, or 2021, I'm sorry. He says this: there's this intense negotiation, and then when the lockout occurs, there's emotion around it, and people back away. He continues by saying, and usually then there's a fairly lengthy hiatus before any more talks occur. It wouldn't surprise me, and this is Michael speaking, it wouldn't surprise me if it was weeks later that talks occur again. And really, what it becomes is a war of attrition, he says. Who can endure the pain the longest? So basically, you have this big boil up, trying to figure things out before you enter a lockout state. And then once you do, everything kind of backs off. It's kind of like, let's chill out. Let's let everybody kind of regroup before we revisit this. Here's the good news. And this is to my point that I made earlier last week. That is why this is essentially a good thing that it's happening now. The lockout now is the league being proactive. It stinks. We can't say it enough. I mean, it puts a damper on your favorite sport in a time that's otherwise extremely exciting. The free agent period happening, the winter meetings, et cetera, all kaput, done for now. But doing this now, knowing that it takes time, but it's still early, allows you to hopefully not lose anything on the back end when pitchers and catchers should report around Valentine's Day, the start of spring training, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of talk, too, with the league being locked out about people's jobs. I mean, 2020 was such a terrible year with COVID and the furloughs and the staffing that just disappeared league-wide and team-wide. And then such a great bounce back in 2021. Attendance was good and the game was thriving again. And now we're back to this. Are people's jobs safe now? And you have to wonder that going through. According to a league spokesperson last week, it was said that there is no intention at this point to implement any furloughs, to pay cut, or to reduce any work at the league or the club level, which is good news. Again, hopefully the resolution of this happens sooner rather than later. That remains the case, and folks don't lose their positions and their livelihoods like we saw in 2020, because obviously that was extremely devastating. We're in the middle of a lockout. We're in the middle of the offseason. It's a Monday. I know you're craving your favorite ballpark food, whatever that may be. So today, here on Locked On Cubs, we're going to start a several-part segment that's going to go take a look at some of the best ballpark food in stadiums across the country and some of the worst Major League Baseball ballpark food in stadiums across the country. We're also going to take a look at a ranking from worst to first, parks with the best food offerings. This is a fun one and something that I think at this time of year, we're all craving whatever your favorite delectable treat at the ballpark might be. Get to that in a moment. Before we do, I want to say that this holiday season, I'd like to remind you to grab the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, or maybe even better than a candy bar. Trust me, it's the Built Bar. It's filled with so much holiday goodness. It's rich with decadent flavor, and it's covered in chocolate. But it's amazingly low in calories. It's low in sugar, low in net carbs and fat, but really, really high in protein. You get the best of both worlds, delicious and healthy. Yes, that does exist. So many flavors, you'll have a hard time choosing. Do you want raspberry? You want mint brownie? Do you want double chocolate? Do you want cookies and cream? How about peanut butter brownie? Sounds pretty good to me. Built Bar gives you the extra fuel that you need to bust down those mall doors and battle all the holiday shoppers all season long. Or if you're standing in endless shopping lines, Built Bar can give you that extra something to keep you going. So throw one in your jacket, throw one in your purse. You never know when you're going to need it. You're friends with Santa? Well, might be a good idea to ask him to throw a few Built Bars in your stocking or your family's stockings this year. With so many flavors, they'd make the perfect gift on Christmas morning. Want to cozy up with something warm? Here's a holiday secret. Dip your Built Bar into a piping hot cup of cocoa. Don't share that with your friends. That's a great idea. Like some of those marshmallow treats around the holidays, you need to get your hands on Built Bar Puffs. They're light, they're fluffy, they're marshmallow-y through and through. There's different flavors, and you're doing yourself a favor by staying away from that sugary plate of whatever it may be. Go to Built.com today and use promo code LOCK15. That's going to get you 15% off your order. Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off. Built Bar, try them. You are going to love it. Ballpark Food, segment number 3 coming up after this. This is Locked on Cubs. We return to Locked on Cubs. I'm your host, Andrew Bellison. Happy Monday to you. It's awesome to have you with us. Can't thank you enough for stopping by here this Monday morning on your drive to work. Maybe you're at work already. Maybe you're getting ready to go to school. Maybe you're getting ready to go to work. You're at home. You're off today. You took off to finish your holiday shopping. Good for you. Whatever it may be, download us for free wherever you find your favorite cast. And please engage with us socially at Chicago Cubs PA and at Locked On Sports. So this is going to be the start of kind of a 3-part, 4-part, 5-part segment. We're going to take a look at some of the best and worst food around Major League Baseball ballparks and a ranking from worst to first, ballparks with the best food offerings. I'm super diet conscious. I'm a pescatarian, so my ballpark food and your ballpark food might be totally different. But at heart, I'm still the husky jean-wearing, overweight middle schooler that I was 20, 25 years ago and love to indulge once in a while. Not often, but once in a while. I'm going to channel my inner David Letterman now. Let's do a little top 10, or in this case, a top 30 over the next few episodes to take a look at some of this list. This list is actually put together by Will Fulton of Thrillist.com. I have not been to all 30 ballparks, so I couldn't fairly give you an accurate list of worst to first best food offerings around stadiums. But Will did. Love this article. Kind of want to go through some of the things that he talked about. I've had some of them as well. So we'll start with number 30, Mr. Irrelevant, worst ballpark food in Major League Baseball. Drum roll, please. The Oakland Coliseum, Oakland A's. Ring Central Coliseum, the worst food in Major League Baseball. As Will says, as the city just across the Bay Bridge has the shiny newish park and myriad banging food options, more on them later. The old also is a football stadium, and Oaktown is a little rough around the edges and very scarce in food options. Things are scrappy to say the least. The best offering in Oakland at an A's game, according to Will, though, food-wise, the Championship Plaza food trucks, section 114, gives you a little smattering of this and that. Taste a few different things. Got to like that. The list rolls on to number 29. Second worst food in all of Major League Baseball. Drum roll, please, is Tropicana Field and the Tampa Bay Rays. I mean, we all know, whether you've been there or not, Tropicana, probably the worst ballpark in all of baseball. Balls hit the roof and the ceiling of the dome sometimes. It's a team with an extremely low budget that still finds a way to win, which is awesome. They're, nicknamed in the Tampa area, the Tampa Bay AAAs, which is just super unfortunate. But the food fits the theme of the ballpark. Meh. But according to Will here, the best food option there is the Tampa Bay Cuban sandwich at Cubano's, sections 146 and 148. Next time you're at Tropicana Field, check it out. Cuban sandwich from Cubano's. Finally, our last ballpark of the day, 28th on the list, third worst food in all of Major League Baseball. And this one surprised me a little bit given its location. Can you take a guess? Let me tell you. The Kansas City Royals, Kauffman Stadium. Third worst food in all of Major League Baseball. I would never have guessed this. You're in a barbecue town in Kansas City. I mean, there's no standout barbecue joint in the stadium itself. And I don't understand how you could be third worst in a food town, a barbecue town like Kansas City. Will says that shockingly, the best thing you can get at a Royals game is a few scoops from Belfonte, a Casey ice cream staple. That's all over the stadium, thank goodness, not just in one section. So, as he says, this local ice cream legend is the ideal antidote to those hot Midwestern day games on the boiling metal of the Kauffman bleachers. Kauffman Stadium, recent remodel, looks like a great park, haven't been. Food options, I guess not so much the case. That's a bummer, kind of surprising, but still third worst in the league nonetheless. Our list will roll on later in the week, having some fun. Love to know what your favorite ballpark food is. Let me know on Twitter at Chicago Cubs PA or at Locked On Sports. Plenty more coming this week. The best free agents left in the pool after the lockout, and there's a lot of good ones, plus much, much more around the league and Cub Nation. Please join us again tomorrow, Tuesday, show number 2 of the week, Locked On Cubs. Before we let you go, I'd like to ask you to make your second listen of the day Locked On Bets. It's your daily one-stop shop for all of your gambling needs. Locked On Bets is hosted by your boy Q with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. It's free and available on all platforms, wherever you find your favorite podcast, just like Locked On Cubs is. So until tomorrow, have a great Monday. Thanks for being with us here today. We'll catch you tomorrow. This has been Locked On Cubs. See you, everybody.